We're going to discuss the UAV and drone incursions over Barksdale Air Force Base. My understanding is I have Louisiana State Police, representatives from the FBI, and of course, representatives from the Governor's Office of Homeland Security. So we can get one member from each to take the table. That would be helpful. As you sit down, gentlemen, please state your name for the record. And again, I want to be clear, gentlemen, what we're trying to do is get an idea. This is the Committee of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness. So there's dual roles. Everybody's good? We have dual roles with this committee, is emergency preparedness and Homeland Security. So we have a duty and responsibility just to kind of discuss and get an idea of what we witnessed and what's going on to the extent that you can. Of course, the military is involved, federal law enforcement's involved. I understand that there could be some confidential information. Some information may not be shared, but we would really invite any light that you can shed on what happened, because we all know that the drones, the UAVs, are increasingly becoming cheaper, easier to operate, and more elusive and more lethal. And that's the big concern. So any one of you wants to start, go ahead. Or go ahead.
I think in the interest of these gentlemen are probably going to talk some more technical specifics from a consequence management and a GOSEP perspective from the Homeland Security. We share information with Fusion Center through our Intelligence Coordination Center, make that information what is made available to us to our external stakeholders, which include yourself and Senator Klein Peter. With this particular incursion, and we have incursions over critical infrastructure every day, sir, and I think as y'all are all aware, the frequency of drone incursions over critical infrastructure, and they're not always nefarious. That's a law enforcement judgment call, but we do get visibility at GOSEP on those that are. And we share that information with the external stakeholders. We log that information into WebEOC. We create an incident. We did create an incident for the Barksdale incursion, and we posted updates of releasable information, that information that was not law enforcement sensitive. So I believe with the testimony you'll hear today, you'll hear more of the overall from FBI and state police. You'll hear more of the overall actions on the objective there at outside of the fence, so to speak. Barksdale Air Force Base was not or did not request resources directly from GOSEP. They made those coordinations through law enforcement channels. So I was going to ask if anyone had any questions for GOSEP. If not, I was going to give up my seat for a member of the FBI.
Currently, I'm not seeing any questions. Okay, very good, General. Appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Do we have a representative from the FBI? Yep. Have you filled out a white card, sir? If you haven't, we'll need to get you to do that.
No, sir.
Let me turn you back on. Okay, there you go.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Good morning. I'm Jonathan Tapp, Special Agent in charge of the FBI's New Orleans field office. We declined to testify based on the sensitivity of our information, and it's being routed internally. But we're here in support of our partners, and just to tout the testimony of our partnership here for this series of incidents, or this incursion. GOSEP, Louisiana State Police, and the FBI worked hand in hand the entire time.
All right, so there is obviously sensitive information surrounding this. Has there been any incursions lately, or since the initial incursions, the nights that they happened? I'm trying to remember when it was. Can you refresh my memory?
Yes, sir. Mid-March.
Mid-March. So can you tell me how many days the the incursions occurred? Were they back-to-back nights? Were they on nights, off nights? Can anybody provide that information? Any one of you? Are you able to provide that information?
You good with that?
Morning, Mr. Chairman. I'm Lieutenant Scott Gregg from the Louisiana State Police. I actually deployed up to Barksdale Air Force Base on the 9th of March. There was a day and a night reporting of multiple drone sightings coming from different directions that would have happened on the morning of the 9th and the evening of the 9th, going into the 10th. We deployed some assets up there to get some visibility on what they potentially are seeing. I will say that as soon as we activated our assets, we did see drones outside the perimeter. That was significantly alarming because of the airspace. And then we continued to monitor for the next 3 or 4 days until the Air Force felt it had adequate support from internal to excuse us from the participation.
Who made initial detection? And when you say assets, are you talking detection, mitigation? What sort? Can you say what sort of assets?
Detection, sir.
Detection. Can we mitigate right now?
Yes and no. So with our partners at FBI, they allow select people.
Please introduce yourself,
I'm sorry,
sir.
Lieutenant Jonathan Kemp, State Police. I'm the UAS COAS supervisor. Lieutenant Gregg and I just returned back from in Huntsville, Alabama. In Cutsey is a National Counter Unmanned Training Center, where we went to a 2-week intensive course to be certified as task force officers and operate under the purview of the FBI to mitigate drones in certain situations.
Do we have any sheriffs involved in this sort of training and certification right now? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but please correct me if I'm wrong. Initially, it's going to be the local law enforcement. Is that accurate?
So right now, what we have done is we created a task force composed of the Police Chiefs Association, Sheriff's Association, GOSEP, and LSP. The task force is designed to respond appropriately and effectively and rapidly when an incursion occurs.
And are you referring to the bill that's being run
Yes,
through the
sir,
process right now?
Yes, sir. We've already had a task force already, an MOU already adopted, and House Bill 940 that you're referring to is just it mirrors the MOU created a few months ago.
And once a task force is created, what's the goal? What is the mission of the task force?
Sure. Is to share information, because there's so many type of drone incursions, so many drones that are being operated. That way we can share information with the Police Chiefs Association, police chiefs, and local law enforcement, or what we call SLTT, which is state, local, tribal, and territorial agencies. With that shared information, we believe that it will allow us to respond appropriately to know exactly what type of drones, and also data analytics to see what the drones are doing over critical infrastructure, primarily.
Do we know if the drones were nefarious or not? Can we speak to that? That is, no, you can't speak to it, or no, we don't know?
No, we can't speak to it,
Okay,
sir.
very good. I have a couple of questions. I'm going to let some of the other members query you as well. Representative Owen, Vice Chair Owen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Thank you. I understand your situation and appreciate you at least coming to the table and telling us you declined to testify. I understand. And thank you all. And I understand this is a very complex and sensitive moment. This is a public hearing, so I say this for public consumption, that we as a state need to be paying attention, which is why we're in this meeting. We've all gotten phone calls and messages from people going, what's going on? What are you doing about it? And we all understand at this level, there are oftentimes things that we simply, for being able to respond, cannot and should not discuss. But we have to build trust with our citizens that the appropriate people are. And I have confidence that our National Guard is. We run across these things all the time, but who controls the airspace? Well, the airspace over Barksdale or over Fort Polk or over the middle of Slidell. And there's different mechanisms of control. And so this should really be one of those moments where government is working closely between federal and state partners and multiple state agencies to develop TTPs tactics, techniques, and procedures if we don't have them. And please do not hesitate to let this committee or other members of the legislature know if you need anything or if there's anything we need to know. So I'm just, I don't want to say I'm bewildered by this. I'm amazed it's taken this long for something like this to happen. This is kind of what happens when this kind of technology proliferates in an unfettered fashion. And for probably 12 of 16 years, we had an open border where there was no telling what happened and what was brought into this country. So this is kind of the poison fruit from the poison seed that was planted by not paying attention to national security. And so we're in this moment together, and we need to work together to try to protect the homeland and to protect what's important to us. So we're here for you all. Just want to thank you for being here.
Representative Sawyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just satisfying curiosity, what constitutes an incursion?
It's when a drone flies over, I guess, geospace over the critical infrastructure, an oil refinery, chemical plant that flies over that area, not 100 feet back, but literally flies over the critical infrastructure or the factory plant, that property.
So in the case of Barksdale, that's the airspace of Barksdale, no further than that. There's no buffer perimeter that extends beyond the boundaries of the base.
I think Barksdale is in Class C airspace, which means there are certain limits where you can fly or where you can and cannot fly. And also Barksdale is also military airspace, which means you can't, certain aircraft can't fly through there at all, civilian aircraft without a waiver.
So like if the drone activity were some sort of surveillance, I mean, would it constitute an incursion if the drone were at the edge of the base and studying the activities that are going on the base?
If you had the evidence, you could make that argument, yeah, sure. If you had the evidence to support that.
Okay. I asked just because, unlike Fort Polk, the nature of Barksdale is for aircraft to come and go, which means they leave the airspace of the base itself, and so there seems like there would be other opportunities for either incursion or some sort of interaction with drone activity, and so in the case of Barksdale, in military airspace. You're saying that it doesn't necessarily stop, an incursion or violation doesn't necessarily stop at the airspace border of the base, but it could extend out further?
It's possible that, I think what you're trying to say is that drones flying in the surrounding area, whether or not they can zoom in with a camera onto the military base, that's highly possible, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Or Vice Chairman.
Representative Cruz.
Thank you, Vice Chair Owen. Lieutenant Gregg, you mentioned something about you were concerned about several drones outside the perimeter. Is this the airspace we're talking about? Were there other drones that weren't trying to make an incursion or whatever necessarily, but they were in the vicinity?
So the ones I'm speaking of specifically were what I'll call a normal drone, if there is such a thing.
Okay.
And we normally typify those from our experience in counter-drone operations from the Super Bowl and Mardi Gras, those that are either unaware that there's a flight restriction. So some of them between a couple hundred meters to a few miles, but it's still within a zero flight zone without a waiver from the FAA. So operating in that space was alarming to me, especially because I originally went up there thinking that it was probably grossly misrepresented what was being reported, and to see if there was some duplication of reporting or erroneous reporting. But when we went hot and we saw those, there was more to look at.
Okay, and to Representative Sawyer's question, yes, you're correct. Class C airspace, there are prohibitions against flying drones 100 feet, 300 feet, or whatever, there's a big grid there that they've got to apply for clearance to fly that. What I find, though, is a lot of people are not aware of the rules, and, I mean, there's been a lot of effort to put forth what some of the rules and restrictions are, and I applaud you for your composure and not just restricting everything, because there are a lot of people that aren't trying to do any malfeasance, but they're not aware of the rules, and I don't know if we need to do a more solid education campaign or whatever, but a lot of hobbyists and people that are close to Barksdale. I met a guy a couple of weeks ago, he's like, yeah, well, you can't do it just right here, you've got to apply. So I'm concerned that a lot of those are going to, actually, I was in your camp. I thought, probably someone playing around didn't know, but now that I know the extent of it, I realize, no, these sound like some bad actors. But we as a state and agencies, whatever, need to do a better job of communicating to these people buying drones that they can't just fly them anywhere. There are rules and there are restrictions around airports and whatnot. So, but I think that complicates your problem when you're trying to figure out who's good, who's bad, what's going on here. So I can tell you we will try to take some opportunities to do some better education for the people out there flying for fun or even for their business to know what the rules are. So thank you for your testimony.
All right, the board is clear. Just like to echo some of the sentiments of my committee members. Gentlemen, I appreciate you coming down. We certainly understand the restrictions that you're under. You know, it was a talk of the town, if you will. There was extensive coverage in local media, and as the Committee of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness, it's incumbent upon us to at least discuss it, talk about it, and maybe kind of get an idea of where we're going. It's good to know that you all are taking certification courses. We are familiar with the bill that's currently moving through the process that will give the state a little more knowledge, and in the future potentially allow us to take action. Quick question, were any of the drones, if you can answer, mitigated?
I apologize, sir. I'm not certain we're able to answer that.
Okay. Is it possible, given our resources?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. This will be an ongoing discussion, obviously, and we'll be tracking the bill that's moving through the process right now. I was the author of the bill that originally started all this last year. This is a focus of myself as the committee chair and the committee members. The committee members here are very, very dedicated to ensuring that the state is in the proper posture, not only to handle natural disasters, but situations like this as well. So we appreciate your time. Thanks for coming to the Capitol. You can clear